In a world constantly waiting to knock you down, have you ever asked yourself, why are there people who walk through the chaos of life as if no storm can ever touch them? They face injustice, yet remain calm. They experience loss, yet never fall. The secret does not lie in an easier life, but in an ultimate, forged strength of mind. The bitter reality is, your biggest problem is not external pressure, but your overly fragile mind. Just a cold text message is enough to ruin your whole day. A single criticism can completely destroy your self-confidence. You are handing over the power to the outside world to control your own emotions. It is time to take back control. In this video, we will step into the depth of Stoic philosophy through the thoughts of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. The 10 upcoming powerful lessons will forge you into an unshakable block of steel, helping you remain serene before every storm and never be shaken. Prepare your mind, for the journey to change your life begins right now. 1. Master your reaction. Master your life. In the fast-paced rush of modern life, we easily become victims of impulsive reactions. An unexpected criticism, a cold text message, or a minor incident on the road is enough to ignite anger and drain the energy of an entire day. Most of us live on automatic pilot. External circumstances strike, and the mind instantly responds with instinct. Yet, Stoic philosophy has revealed a life-altering truth. Between what happens and how you react, there always exists a sacred space. That is where true human freedom resides. Epictetus once emphasized that people are not hurt by things, but by the views they take of them. When an unfavorable event strikes, our instinctive human reaction is to immediately defend ourselves, argue, or sink into disappointment. That immediate action strips away your self-control, turning you into a puppet manipulated by external factors. Conversely, Stoic sages always maintain a strategic pause. They understand that external events are inherently devoid of meaning. It is the attitude of waiting, observing, and perceiving that shapes inner fortitude. The gap between stimulus and response is brief, but if seized, it is wide enough for you to reclaim absolute dominion over the destiny of your mind. To better visualize this fortitude, let us weigh two completely contrasting images in nature. First is the fragile dry leaf lying on the ground. Just a passing gust of wind instantly sweeps it up, flips it over, spins it wildly, and hurls it aimlessly in the direction of the storm. That leaf possesses no will, no intrinsic weight, and is entirely surrendered to the weather's whim. That is also the state of an unforged mind, easily agitated by a glance, easily collapsing from a piece of criticism, and staggering before every trivial upheaval. Yet, look at the towering mountain amid the vast wilderness. Massive, howling storms whip violently, relentless rains try to erode it, and thick fog obscures the vision. Yet the mountain still stands there, silent, steadfast, and proud. The mountain does not react to the storm. It receives everything with an uncanny tolerance, while its roots remain immensely firm. The weight of millions of tons of earth and rock, with foundations plunging deep into the Mother Earth, makes it inviolable. The practitioner of Stoic philosophy is precisely that mountain. No matter how furious the world outside may be, the inner self maintains an undisturbed corner of absolute peace. Understanding a philosophy is one thing, but putting it into practical life requires patience and persistent training. When anger or anxiety flares up, turn theory into action through one simple yet immensely powerful step, the 3 to 5 second rule. Next time you feel the blood rush to your head in the face of an unreasonable remark or crushing pressure, stop. Do not rush to utter a bitter word. Do not hastily pound on the keyboard to reply, and absolutely do not act upon the momentum of emotion. Step back, playing the role of a detached observer, calmly watching your own chaotic mood unfolding inside your chest. In that silence, interrogate yourself with a pivotal question. Right now, do I want to react with petty instinct or react intentionally like a strong person? The very moment you halt that immediate retaliation, you officially sever the manipulating strings of the external world. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but have become a calm captain, holding steady at the helm, amidst a storm-tossed voyage. When you master that space, you realize that no external force can harm you unless you willingly hand them the key to the door of your soul. 2. Observe events without the domination of the ego. Life rarely follows the straight lines we draw out. There will be days when every plan collapses, judgmental eyes point at your direction, or harsh words cut deep into your self-esteem. The natural human reaction is to writhe in pain, question oneself, and label adversity with the most tragic words. Yet Stoic philosophy opens up a completely liberating perspective. The truth is that you are not harmed by the event itself, but knocked down by the way you mold its meaning in your mind. Epictetus once concluded that people suffer not because of things, but because of the views they impose upon those things. When an upheaval strikes, we tend to assimilate ourselves with that pain. Rejected at work, we tell ourselves we are useless. Betrayed in love, we assign ourselves the destiny of an unfortunate soul. It is the fragile ego that turns every obstacle into a direct attack on human dignity. In truth, external circumstances are inherently neutral. They are neither good nor bad. They are simply happening. Real pain only begins when you lock yourself inside a pathetic story woven by your own imagination. To understand the core of this immutability, imagine a large mirror placed quietly in the depths of a wild forest. Every day, the mirror must witness countless shades of nature, a fierce beast roaring past, an ancient tree of hundreds of years suddenly snapping and crashing down, or a violent storm tearing apart a corner of the forest. The mirror reflects everything fully, truthfully down to every detail, yet it has never been clawed by the beast, never been crushed by the trunk, and absolutely never turns into that desolate storm. The mirror understands its own nature. It is born to reflect, not to endure or harbor chaos. The mind of a Stoic sage is precisely that mirror. You can see difficulties, you can witness change, but your ego remains intact, pristine, and entirely immune to all the devastation of the external world. How do you bring that lofty philosophy into practical reality? The answer lies in the art of naming things with pure objectivity. Next time adversity strikes and makes your chest tighten, do not rush to utter self-destructive phrases like, "Everything is ruined," or "Why am I so unlucky?" Stop for a beat, take a deep breath, and replace them with a more awakened statement. This is merely an event. When you proactively strip away those heavy emotional labels, you rob circumstances of their manipulating power. The event at this point is only a lifeless piece, and you are the one who decides whether it has the right to harm your peace. Letting go of the tragic story woven by yourself, you will realize that true freedom originates from the very moment you stand outside the vortex of judgment. 3. The inner citadel, where every storm stops. We often complain that our daily time budget is too short to accomplish everything, yet the harsh truth is that you do not lack time. What you are critically lacking is control over your own precious energy. Every day, unconsciously, we let our life force leak through our fingers, from meaningless gossip, hours of aimless social media scrolling, to forcing ourselves to shoulder the negative emotions of those around us. When energy is depleted, the mind becomes fatigued, easily shaken, and completely loses its resistance to adversity. The invisible leak, when the soul is blackened by external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius once left behind a thought of staggering depth. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The human mind is like a pristine white canvas. If you continuously dip it into toxic streams of information, complaints of resentment, or petty jealousy, do not be surprised when your entire inner world turns into the gray hue of pessimism. Absorbing too much mental waste is much like continually fueling your body with toxins. Mental strength cannot stand firm if it must be nourished by trivialities. When you allow your energy to be dictated by unrelated matters, you are voluntarily handing over the key to life's peace for others to keep. Protecting your energy is not selfishness or coldness toward the world, but the ultimate act of self-defense to keep your soul from being eroded. Treat your attention as the scarcest and most expensive asset in the world. Not everyone, and nothing, is worthy of being exchanged for even a single minute of your focus. To achieve that, you need to establish unshakable energy shields around your life. First, stay alert to digital traps. Minimize instances of picking up your phone to scroll aimlessly. Instead of letting social media algorithms manipulate your emotions, proactively select knowledge that nourishes your intellect. Second, bravely walk away from toxic atmospheres. Limit exposure to chronic complainers, because negativity is far more contagious than any pandemic. Lastly, return to silence. Dedicate spaces of solitude to your mind, where there is no noise and no judgment, allowing your life force to self-heal and regenerate from its roots. When you know how to keep your inner flame burning brightly and purely, you will realize that no external storm can undermine you. Preserved energy is the very power that transforms you from a floating dry leaf into an invincible citadel against all of life's trials. 4. When you stop demanding from life, peace will find you. We often step into life with a long list of expectations. Work must always go smoothly. Others must treat us with kindness, and the efforts we put forth must instantly exchange for deserving sweet fruits. Yet, life rarely deigns to follow those perfect scripts. When harsh reality collides with rose-colored illusions, disappointment instantly erupts, turning into the pain and emptiness that tears at the heart. Stoic philosophy early on pointed out an immutable law that pierces the soul. Suffering has never come from adversity, but is born from the painful gap between reality and the illusory expectations we self-impose upon the world. Expectation is essentially like a silent contract that you self-direct, self-sign. But ironically, the world out there has never put pen to agreement. You take it for granted that because you are good to others, they must be grateful. You firmly believe that because you have dedicated yourself entirely, the results must arrive immediately. When the world fails to meet that script, you feel betrayed, hurt, and resentful of circumstances. The greater the expectation, the deeper the disappointment. That is the invisible shackle that imprisons the mind, turning you into a slave to outcomes that lie beyond your own control. To escape this psychological trap, look at how a river faces challenges on its journey to the great ocean. A river has never set the expectation that the path it takes must be a straight, flat line. The river does not get angry when encountering a giant submerged boulder blocking its way, nor does it complain when having to wind through rugged cliffs or deep valleys. It just flows on, gracefully embracing obstacles, flexibly adapting to every bend, and turning every terrain into a natural part of its current. The river never suffers because it harbors no illusions about an easy journey. That is also the attitude toward life of a Stoic sage, consenting to nature and fully embracing the present. Living without expectations does not mean giving up, living aimlessly, or losing the will to rise. On the contrary, it is an awakening at a higher level, pouring body and soul into action instead of being obsessed with the final reward. Next time you embark on a task, train your mind by actively expecting difficulties instead of praying for smoothness. Work your hardest with a spirit of pure dedication, helping others without craving gratitude or repayment. When you do everything simply because it is the right thing to do, you strip external circumstances of their power to harm you. Becoming unshakable before reality does not mean turning into a cold, emotionless block of stone, but achieving a state of absolute freedom, mastering your own actions, and completely letting the dependency on outcomes beyond your reach go. 5. Where willpower is forged by hardship. In the journey of growing up, every single one of us has experienced storms that tear apart peace. The anger when facing injustice, the ultimate pain of betrayal, or the suffocating weight of failure. The familiar human reaction is to seek escape, suppress, or bury those thorny emotions, assuming they are toxic. Yet, under the lens of Stoic philosophy, negative emotions are not enemies to be destroyed. The core issue has never lain within anger or pain itself, but in whether we are wasting them or knowing how to use them. True strength begins from the moment you understand a truth. Every wound, if you know how to mold it, is an invaluable source of raw energy. People often tend to view outrage or bitterness as terrible things that destroy the soul. On the contrary, Stoic sages perceive them as molten streams of lava containing immense power. That energy in itself is neutral. It is the attitude and wisdom of the recipient that determines whether it will burn you up or help you rise. If you try to suppress your emotions, they will return to gnaw at your core from within. But if you have the fortitude to confront them, you will realize that anger or pain is the most powerful fuel bestowed by creation to drive humanity to break through limits. Instead of letting the mind sink into resentment, why not redirect that chaotic energy into a constructive trajectory? To deeply engrave this principle, look straight deep into Mother Earth, where the greatest transformation processes of nature take place. Deep beneath the Earth's crust, the most sparkling and solid diamonds were never born in gentleness or luxury. They must endure millions of years of enduring terrifying pressure from the weight of thousands of tons of rock and earth, along with scorching sky-high temperatures. Without that destructive pressure, there would never be a diamond. So are we humans. It is an illusion to expect a calm life while still possessing extraordinary fortitude. The pressures weighing down on your shoulders, the pain cutting deep into your mind, are in reality the high-temperature smelting furnace molding you into a resilient, sharp, and undefeated version. Obstacles are not things that block your path. The obstacle is the path leading to awakening. Turning pain into strength is not a mere slogan, but an inner discipline requiring absolute alertness in every practical daily action. Next time, when you feel injustice or hurt knock you down, do not rush to be weak or lament your fate. Proactively transform your emotions. Use the fire of anger to plunge into training, improve physical strength, or complete tough goals requiring fierce determination. Use pain and disappointment as a lever to force yourself to focus deeper, hone your skills, and break through in your work. Use every heartache to build a set of ironclad rules, making yourself more steadfast against all future storms. When you stop fighting adversity and begin learning how to use it, you have stepped into a completely new layer of awareness. Pain no longer makes you collapse. It has become the most precious raw material for you to hand-carve an immortal inner monument. 6. The prison of the mind. How to escape the loop of overthinking. We often imprison ourselves in a solid fortress built by our own minds. Even while sitting safely in a warm room with a fragrant cup of coffee in hand, our minds busy themselves painting hundreds of terrible scenarios for tomorrow, fearing failure at work, fearing harsh judgments from others, or fearing tomorrow's storms will strike. Stoic philosophy has pointed out a startling truth. Most of the pain and anxiety we endure does not come from reality, but is born from continually living in a future that does not exist at all. Overthinking is essentially just a runaway form of panicked imagination, self-directing and playing out disasters that have never happened. To realize the absurdity of this habit, look at the natural world around us. Observe a deer deep in the forest. When facing a dangerous predator, survival instinct drives it to flee with all its might. But the moment it shakes off the danger and enters a safe zone, the deer immediately drops all fear, bowing its head to graze peacefully in the morning sunlight. It does not torture itself with thoughts. Will the tiger come back tomorrow? Or what if I looked foolish, leaping through the bushes? We humans possess supreme intelligence, but ironically, that very gift turns us into the most foolish creatures. We are absolutely safe in our physical bodies, yet our minds lock themselves in the claws of illusory tigers woven by our own hands. We tear ourselves apart with questions of what if and if only to waste away in purely fictional fear. How do we shatter that invisible cage? The answer lies in the art of narrowing our vision, pulling attention back to the single, authentic anchor, the present moment. Human attention is just like a handheld flashlight in the dark. If you point that beam into the hidden corners of illusory fears, you will only see dramatic ghosts surrounding you, making your chest tighten and your limbs go numb. But the very moment you turn the flashlight around, shining that powerful beam directly onto the present moment, where you are breathing, where your feet are touching the ground, where reality is unfolding, all darkness naturally dissolves. Right now, in this second, you are completely safe. Escaping the trap of overthinking does not require a miracle, but an iron inner discipline. Whenever you feel your head begin to spin and your chest constrict over unformed worst-case scenarios, courageously stop and ask yourself a supreme question. When you strip away all toxic imaginations, you will realize reality is rarely as bad as what the mind paints. By anchoring yourself in the present, you strip anxiety of its manipulating power, transforming a chaotic mind into a crystal-clear, calm lake before all of life's storms. 7. Breaking free from the chains of validation, the art of self-mastery. We often grow up with an implicit instinct, seeking validation. We try to please everyone, holding our breath for reaction buttons, polite compliments, or nodding approvals from the crowd. Yet, have you ever realized that every time you live for the eyes of others, you are voluntarily handing over the key to your own freedom for them to keep? Under the sharp lens of Stoic philosophy, depending on external approval is actually the most sophisticated form of emotional slavery, turning your life into a cramped stage where you forever remain an awkward supporting actor. When the weight of your value is determined by the praise or blame of the world, you drop the reins of your inner governance. A single criticism can make you collapse for a week. An act of indifference can shake the entire self-confidence you have painstakingly built. You become a puppet manipulated by the currents of public opinion, which are inherently impermanent, fickle, and completely beyond your control. This alienation erodes fortitude bit by bit. It turns a soul that ought to be proud and steadfast into something soft, perpetually cautious, and trembling at every frown of the public. Living to please everyone is an impossible mission, and trying to accomplish it is a death sentence for peace of mind. To escape the cage of prejudice, look up at the sky and contemplate the sun. Every early morning, the sun rises and pours its whole heart into warming and illuminating all things with its brightest and most equitable light. The sun never bothers to stop and ask which flower loves its light, which human praises its warmth, or whether someone is complaining that the sky is too glaring. The sun does not seek approval, it simply shines. Shining is its nature, its mission, and its natural reason for being, entirely independent of any feedback from the surrounding world. Stoic sages are precisely those suns amidst everyday life. They act not to beg for rounds of applause, but because it is right, because it stems from their core morality and self-worth. The greatest turning point of mental maturity begins on the day you bravely stamp upon yourself a harsh yet liberating truth. There will always be people who do not like you, and that is completely normal. Next time, when facing judgment or misunderstanding, instead of frantically explaining or trying to please others, take a deep breath and pull your energy back to yourself. Act based on your own steadfast value system instead of chasing borrowed standards from society. When you stop craving applause, you cut the manipulating strings of emotion with your own hands. True freedom does not lie in how the world cheers for you, but in standing proudly amidst this life, serenely shining with your own true value. 8. The power of silence. Dialogue with the inner self. In the modern world, we always find every way to escape from solitude. The moment we step into a car, touch our phones, or lie down on the bed, sound from earphones, endless short videos, or news feeds instantly fills the space. Most modern people fear silence to the extreme, because silence means they are forced to confront directly the torments, emptiness, and hidden wounds buried deep within the soul. Stoic philosophy reminds us of an unforgettable truth. As long as you still avoid being alone with yourself, you remain a slave to the noises of the outside world. Constantly seeking distraction is essentially an instinctive defense mechanism of a weak mind. We use technology, all-night parties, or overwhelming work as a suit of armor to cover up the loneliness and panic inside. We fear the voice of our inner self, fearing having to confront mistakes, regrets, or invisible fears about the future. Yet burying true feelings in meaningless noise is no different from using tape to tightly seal a festering wound inside. That escape does not make the pain disappear. It only accumulates into a massive pressure, waiting to explode and collapse your peace at any moment. To understand the value of silence, cast your gaze upon a calm lake amidst nature. When howling storms and rains lash down, the lake is violently disturbed, turning murky, churning with mud, and utterly incapable of reflecting any image clearly. You cannot see the bottom of the lake, nor can you see the reflection of clouds or the sky above. But when the storm passes, the water gradually settles, returning to its pristine stillness, and everything suddenly becomes strangely clear. Every pebble at the bottom, every branch and blade of grass, appears sharp and authentic. The human mind is precisely that lake. Only when you allow the inner water surface to stop fluctuating, the chaos, anxiety, and confusion will naturally sink down, making room for wisdom and peace to reign. How to train that fortitude in a practical life full of temptation? The answer lies in a tiny discipline that carries comprehensive reforming power, dedicating 10 minutes every day, entirely immersed in silence. Turn off all electronic devices, take off your familiar earphones, sit up straight in a quiet space, and relax your body. Do not listen to music, do not browse the web, and absolutely do not judge or panic when chaotic thoughts begin to swarm. Play the role of an outsider, calmly observing every passing thought and emotion like driftwood clouds floating across the sky. They appear and then naturally drift away, unable to touch you unless you cling to them. When you learn to calmly sit alone with yourself, the fear of loneliness will vanish, making room for a solid inner strength. Silence is no longer a punishment, but becomes the sacred sanctuary where you reclaim absolute governance over your soul. 9. The art of viewing life from the peak of serenity. Life is sometimes truly strange. We can calmly face major upheavals, yet easily collapse or suffer a mental breakdown over just a minor nuisance. A spelling error in an email, an offhand remark from a colleague, or an unexpected expense is enough to ruin your entire week. You toss and turn all night, torturing yourself and letting those trivial matters drain your vital energy. Stoic philosophy points out a startling truth behind those mental crises. Your problem looks big and gigantic, not at all because it is serious, but simply because your perspective is too small. Humans have a toxic habit of magnifying every little detail when placing themselves at the center of trouble. Much like bringing a grain of sand right up against your eyeball, that grain of sand is so tiny, it is practically invisible, yet when it lies right against your pupil, it blocks out the entire sky, causing unbearable pain and stinging. When you narrow your entire world down to revolve solely around the current incident, your mind loses objectivity. You let everyday trivialities bypass you, handing over the power to unworthy things to control your emotions and choke the peace in your soul. That deadlock actually does not come from adversity, but from the narrow lens you are using to look at the world. To escape that visual trap, Stoic sages always apply an ultimate thinking tool likened to a kaleidoscope, the zooming out technique. Next time an unexpected trouble strikes, making your chest tighten and your hands shake, stop for a beat and lift your vision into the broader space of time. Ask yourself purifying questions. Will this incident still hold the same weight a year from now? Will it have the slightest impact 5 years from now? And when you stand in the final years of your life, looking back at the journey traveled, is this matter worth trading for a single drop of today's tears? The very moment you shift your perspective from the cramped reality out into the vast expanse of the universe, every mistake, embarrassment, or annoyance suddenly shrinks down like faint specks of dust. They become small, blurry, and entirely within your control. Learning to stop letting small things take control does not mean ignoring responsibility, but rather reclaiming your right to price events in life. When you observe from a cosmic perspective, you realize this life is too short to waste on nameless trivia. True peace only comes when you understand the weight of a problem is entirely decided by you. Do not use a magnifying glass to exaggerate pain. Use the binoculars of wisdom to embrace the whole picture. Once your vision has broadened, no minor storm can ever shake the fortitude of a soul that has surrendered to the majesty of time. 10. Beyond the stream of thoughts, the journey back to self. In the churning current of life, we often have the habit of completely identifying ourselves with whatever is happening inside our heads. When sadness strikes, we tell ourselves that we are the sadness. When anger flares up, we instantly conclude that we are a wrathful person. That blind attachment turns the mind into a bloody battlefield where we are led by the nose, knocked down, and manipulated by the very chaotic streams of emotion we create. Stoic philosophy opens up an ultimate escape, bringing you to the core awakening. You are not your thoughts or your emotions. You are the one standing behind, observing all of them. Humans often fall into the trap of self-appropriation. We plunge headfirst into every emotional storm as if it were an inseparable part of life. We weep on behalf of grievances, we scream along with irritations, and we let wave after wave of psychological turmoil completely submerge our reason. Yet, the liberating truth is, emotions or thoughts are merely guests, coming and going, on the stage of the mind. They drop by, cause a commotion for a while, and then naturally disappear, while your core ego still stands there, enduring and intact. When you realize you are not the storm, but the sky that contains the storm, the power of mastery instantly returns to your hands. To deeply empathize with this fragile boundary, relax your mind and visualize a busy street corner where you are calmly sitting and resting by the roadside. In front of you is a stream of traffic hurrying back and forth, a heavy truck carrying loads of anxiety, a speeding car named fear, or a blaring motorbike symbolizing sudden anger. Each vehicle appears, makes noise, kicks up dust, and gradually fades away toward the horizon. Are you obligated to rush out into the street, block each vehicle, and blindly jump into the back of all of them? Definitely not. You just sit there, calmly watching them pass by. The thoughts and emotions inside you are precisely like those vehicles. They have the right to race through your mind, but you have the complete right to refuse to step inside the car and let them drive away to determine your fate. To turn that philosophical principle into practical fortitude, start with a minor yet revolutionary change in the way you communicate with yourself, the shift in language. Next time, when you feel your chest tighten with irritation, instead of uttering the slave-like phrase, "I am angry," stop for a beat and change it to, "Anger is present here." Just that infinitely small linguistic distance creates a sacred and vast space. It pulls you out of the swamp of identification, placing you in the position of a calm sage watching the internal stream. When you no longer label yourself as the emotion, you entirely strip away its destructive power, turning all internal storms into a still life painting under the absolute control of an unshakable soul. The journey through 10 Stoic lessons does not stop at dry pages of knowledge, but serves as a rallying call for an inner transformation. Knowledge left unattended is like an unlit lamp. Only through action do they turn into armor, protecting you from the storm. Stop fighting things beyond your reach. Relax your mind to flow with the natural rhythm of life, where silent miracles begin to blossom. True manifestation does not come from begging fate to bestow what we crave, but from chiseling oneself into a resilient version, possessing enough virtue to receive what belongs to us. When the spotlight fades, the power remains entirely in your hands. Maintain discipline, nurture alertness, and grip the steering wheel of life tightly. Welcome to officially stepping onto the path of the unshakable. If the inner flame within you has ignited, hit the like button. Leave your mark with a comment. I maintain a serene mindset amidst all fluctuations. And do not forget to click subscribe to continue exploring ancient wisdom for modern life.